So I have a confession. Even though I'm one of the biggest L Word stans, I've never watched a full episode of the lesbian reality show, The Real L Word. And this show came out in 2010. I know it ran for a couple of seasons, and I think I remember something about some cast changes or maybe location changes with the last season. I know it ran for a couple of seasons, but I've never seen a full episode. I'm aware of people, like some of the characters or people that are in the show. I've seen them at like those big, like lesbian events where I used to live in Tampa. I think I've met a couple of them before, but I wouldn't really be able to pick them out of a lineup. So I'm going to watch the pilot episode today and share some clips and some thoughts and let you guys know what I think about this peak 2000s reality television lesbian fest. So let's get right into it. Okay, so I've just watched the episode and oh my gosh, the 2009 2010 fashion. 2009 was when I graduated from university, so this is, yeah, like when I was about to push play, I was like, there's gonna be so many. I mean, we used to call them wife beaters, but I know that's not right anymore. The vests, like I don't even know what the real name is, but you know what I'm talking about. I thought there was going to be a lot of those and long necklaces and layering and the jeans. Oh god, it brought me back. Okay, so just it's so like I could not, I cracked up so many times in this episode. Like I just could not keep it together. The hair and like the sunglasses inside, and
My first sexual experience was being home on spring break, and my friend came home with me.
I feel as though really everybody, maybe it was a mixture of them wanting to come across as cool, but then I feel as though there was probably a lot of like heavy editing to try and turn people into like caricatures. And I feel as though because this came out in 2010, I feel like they all watched the L Word and were like, okay, I'm gonna be Shane, and that's just the way it came across to me anyway. And again, I haven't looked anything up because I might, depending on how well this video does, I might do one from like season 2, season 3, and I didn't want to spoil, but I'm dying to look them up because I would bet a lot of money that none of them are together except for Jill and Nikki. I think they're probably still together. They seem like the real deal, and it's so funny that like they're in this because everybody else seems like an absolute messy like drama nightmare, and they're just like this wholesome normal couple that they obviously were trying to make them like Bet and Tina, which I mean they definitely seemed more like Bet and Tina than anyone else seemed like Shane, which is like what I think most of the other ones were going for. So I'm gonna start out with Whitney because she's like the person they started and ended with, and I feel as though she had most of the screen time by far, and she is the one person that I'm if I like saw 100 people, I probably couldn't say, oh, she was on the real L Word. But if you gave me like 10 people and said, I could probably, I knew her name anyway when I saw her. So I think that she does like a lot of the promotion stuff. Maybe as well, like I'm 35, like this is, I'm not, probably I've aged out of this, I think, and they seem around my age. So maybe if I'd watched this when it was on, I would have had more, like I just feel as though it was so, the whole her, like it was just really really over the top and exaggerated, and I think it makes stuff like this makes lesbians look really shitty, like that she's has like some sort of revolving airport pickup.
And not in a douchebaggy way. Like, I just genuinely love them.
I am currently single. There are a lot of girls that I take home or I'm dating or seeing.
And then the conversations that they were having around that fire pit, like, oh, you're such a player. Like, it just, I did not like it at all. And side note, that house, oh my God. When I was watching it, I felt like, I felt like I needed to get in there and clean it, like, stat.
Is this Scarlett?
Yeah, that's Scarlett.
Shut up.
You're like Jessica Simpson.
Chicken of the sea.
Because there was so many people and the dogs were adorable, but there was so many dogs and there was so much stuff everywhere. I could not pay attention to what was happening because I just was thinking how dirty the house looked. But I mean, if you know, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Also, maybe this is more like talking about everyone, but in the beginning when they were all like talking about their first time, one, I was like, what is this? This can't be the episode. Like, I thought that was some sort of like promotion. They had this weird background music, and the way the whoever filmed the show just, it's terrible. Like, they'll like macro lens on someone, and then like it's just shot so weirdly.
Never had a breast in my mouth or near my face.
And I walked in, I pulled off my top.
To the time I lost my virginity with a man. It was.
And you can also tell how they've tried to use, like, I'll talk about this when I talk about Mikey, but it's just the lighting was terrible. They're all good looking girls, and the lighting was horrendous. The makeup was horrendous. I think the budget was like $7. So I don't know what was going on with all of that. One thing that I did kind of find interesting though is like how they did this in 2010. And obviously it's cool to see even how far we have come in 12 years because, Nikki and Jill are organizing their wedding and they're like, our marriage won't be legally recognized. And it's like, it is now, baby. Like,
our marriage clearly isn't legalized by the state of California, but we do want to have this celebration with our friends and family.
Stuff like that, don't get me wrong, there's still tons of work to do, but just to see how far we've come in like that amount of time. And then they were also like talking about like don't ask, don't tell, and I just feel like that has come a long way. And even people like Tracy kind of had this thing with her mom, like her mom didn't want to know. And there's so many people out there that's still the situation. There's so many people out there that are disowned by their family. And that's why representation is so important in the media, so that people know that they're not alone and that there's other people. Like I just, growing up, even though this is cringe, whatever, like it just, having shows like this is important. And the more types of shows we have, instead of just trying to all get our representation in one show like the L Word, it's not possible. And that's why we need variety of queer characters in so many forms of media. And I'm gonna get into talking about Nikki and Jill here, but to start off with, when they were having their like discussion at the table about how they didn't, well, Nikki was saying like, I don't want to be matchy, I don't want to both wear dresses.
I think you'll look gorgeous, but I would love to see you try on a dress.
I don't want to be like, we're both in white dresses and we're like twins walking down the
We're not
aisle.
matching, I just think
I
we
would
have
like
to be
to compliment one another.
Because she was insinuating that it looks weird, and it's not. What is making you think it's weird is societal homophobia, and that's because you grew up not having any representation. And that is why representation is so important, because people like, I'd say my age and above, and probably like 10 years below me, they probably at one stage have all thought that. And you have to remove the societal homophobia, because kids, like my brother's 20 and I raised him, and if someone in his class or whatever has two moms, it's not even noteworthy for him to say anything, because he looks at it as if, oh, your parents have blonde hair and they have brown hair. Like it's just not a thing to him because he's been around that all his life. But people who don't have any representation, that's why you do go through these issues, and that's why people don't accept themselves, because they think that they're like some sort of freak, or they don't have anyone that they can look at and just be like, oh, they're just like me. And it's why we have to have all different types of representation, that there's not just one like lesbian on TV and one gay man, so that everybody can see themselves represented and know that like they're not alone, and there's nothing wrong with being yourself. And some people are just gay, it's not weird. So this, you know, again, like I was saying, this just shows you again how far we've come, but how far we still have to go, and the work that needs to be done so everyone can live this way. So getting a bit heavy there before, but I really liked Jill and Nikki. They seemed super normal and just down to earth, and you know, like really happy, honestly, which is great to see. Again, they made some comments like about being a straight gay and stuff like that, but it was 2010, and you know, this is I'm sure I would have made a similar comment in 2009, 2010. So that's just the way it is. But there was some like weird editing too, the way Jill was on the couch with like fully painted toenails, and then like 10 minutes later Nikki's like, oh, I'm gonna paint your nails. And it's like, you obviously took the clip, like they just clipped things together, which again showed how much they're trying to like manipulate things, which is why I don't watch reality TV. But that will lead me into talking about Mikey, who I think was totally getting a villain edit, like the same way Brianna in Tampa Bay's kind of got that. And this is one thing to look out for. What they were doing with her is, when they do like the talking heads, another really good example of this is in Tiger King with Carol Baskin, is that instead of having the talking head and cutting, like I finish my sentence and you cut straight back to the action, they like hang the camera on her for a little bit longer, and it creates this kind of like dead air uncomfortableness. And they do that a lot with when they're trying to like manipulate viewers into disliking someone, because it makes you feel uncomfortable. And the thing I really disliked though, the way that she was conducting herself with that whole, when they had the models in walking.
Get this woman from on the phone for me, okay, so I can find out who the fuck she is and why she's sending these models over here who obviously have zero experience.
Because I know my analytics, right? And I know my analytics are mostly people older than me, but I do have some younger viewers, and I will tell you, you catch more flies with honey. This behavior, like coming in and being a big like bitch, basically.
If I were you, I'd be really careful how you have this conversation with me, because I'm really good at like not working with another agency, and we do produce all of LA Fashion Week.
Is not it. Like, it's so not it, because people then, like, whenever she was calling the company and you could see the intern was like panic stricken, if you were a good boss, it would never get to that stage, because she would say to you, listen, I've made a mistake here, instead of it getting to that point where she's terrified to tell you anything. And I kind of used to think, like when I was in my late teens, early 20s, that you had to behave this way to get anywhere, especially if you were a lesbian and trying to make it in the workplace and all this stuff. And it's so not, because I had a boss who was still to this day the best boss I've ever had. And she was so great, and so like, she worked so hard, but she wanted everyone to do so well. She took so much time out of her day to like teach you everything. And she was so great that I wanted to do even more for her and to make the team great, because she was so awesome. And that's the way I always conduct myself in business now, and it has always worked very well for me, as opposed to just being that person who the people who report to you are terrified of you, and it makes just such an uncomfortable environment, and they also hide things from you because they're scared of you. It just doesn't work, and I really disliked it. And I don't know, I just feel as that like this is maybe like, I probably shouldn't share this, but when she first came on screen, I think it was just the credits, yeah, and the hair was like sticking up at the back. And the sunglasses on inside, I started laughing because I was like, what is happening here? Like, what is going on with this show? So I don't know. I feel as though she has been very successful, obviously, in her business, but I did not care for the way she was conducting herself. So the rest of them I didn't really feel any sort of way about. I mean, I feel as though Tracy and the Stamy thing, I do not think that's gonna gonna work with those three little kids. And what a nightmare. And Rose, I feel as though she clearly doesn't want to settle down and just wants to go out. But honestly, I really didn't connect with any of them. I liked Jill and Nikki, but I just feel as though they're like normal people. And I really, honestly, I might watch some other episodes for the channel, but I would never continue watching this because I don't know, it just maybe in 2010 if I watched it then I might have, but it just seems like a lot of people trying a bit too hard or trying to be a caricature. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Is this, have I just not watched it in the right time? Should I have watched it in 2010? Did you watch it when it was on in 2010? Did you like it? Which characters do you like? Let me know. I would bet a lot of money that none of these people are together except for Jill and Nikki. But let me know if you'd want to see another one like this. And of course, always follow me on all my social media. Check out my Patreon and my merch store. Make sure to leave a big like if you enjoyed the video. Share it with someone. And as always, make sure to stay safe. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.